Semitic Magic, Its Origins and Development by R. Campbell Thompson. The Assyrian text runs: The evil entities are raging storms, ruthless spirits created in the vault of heaven. Workers of woe are they, that each day raise their wicked heads for evil. To wreak destruction of these seven. The first is the south wind. The second is a dragon with a mouth agape that none can withstand. The third is a grim leopard which carries off young. The fourth, a terrible serpent. The fifth is a furious beast after which no restraint. The sixth is a rampant which against God and king. The seventh is an evil windstorm which. These seven are the messengers of Anu the king, bearing gloom from city to city, tempests that furiously scour the heavens, dense clouds that bring gloom over the sky, rushing wind gusts, casting darkness over the brightest day, forcing their way with the baneful windstorms. Mighty destroyers are they, the deluge of the storm entity, stalking at the right hand of the storm entity. In the foundation of heaven, like lightning, they flash. To wreak destruction they lead away. In the heaven's breath, the home of Anu, the king, they take their stand for evil, and none oppose. Baal Hadad is an example of the storm entity. Jonah is the Hebrew word for dove, and it was at Haran, the sacred city, to the moon entity, that the dove was not sacrificed. Compare the devils sent to St. Anthony in the Syriac paradise of the fathers. Now it is very easy for the enemy to create apparitions and appearances of such a character that they should be deemed real and actual objects, and phantasms of this kind cause a phantom earthquake. They rent asunder the four corners of the house, and entered therein a body from all sides. One had the form of a lion, another had the appearance of a wolf, and another was like a panther, and all the others were in the forms and similitudes of serpents and vipers and scorpions. The tablet goes on to relate how these seven spirits attack the moon entity, and Bel, hearing of the mischief they have done, sent his servant Nuzku to take counsel with Ea against them. O my minister Nuzku, bear my message into the ocean deep. Tell unto Ea in the ocean deep the tidings of my son Sin, the moon entity, who in heaven hath been grievously bedimmed. Ea heard the message which Nuzku brought, and bit his lip in grief. He summoned his son Marduk, and conveyed to him the tidings of the moon entity. After this, the tablet becomes mutilated for 10 lines, and when it recommends, it gives the directions for the sick man's treatment. Evidently, this connection of an eclipse of the moon with disease tends itself to the explanation that certain sicknesses were due, indirectly at least, to such phenomena, or at any rate that mankind was particularly susceptible to such attacks during the moon's disappearance. Many indeed were the prayers made to avert the evil from an eclipse. In certain of the prayers of the lifting of the hand, we find the phrase, in the evil of an eclipse of the moon, which, in such and such a month, on such and such a day, has taken place, in the evil of the power of the portents, evil and not good, which are in my palace, and my land. The following is a prayer offered up by Shamash Shum Ukun, the brother of Ashurbanipal, against the evil of an eclipse of the moon, which has apparently been foretold from the preceding events. Now, I would say that the eclipses aren't necessarily signs of good and evil. There is sort of a change for like a week, apparently, electromagnetically, that goes on whenever you have an eclipse of the sun or the moon. And as a side note, remember that the early people who fought Muhammad and his companions and the people who followed them, they had suns and moons and stuff like that on their flag. The example that we have initially is the plain green flag, the plain black flag, the plain white flag. White doesn't mean surrender. Well, it does mean surrender, but not in that sense. Is that you've attained mastery. O great lady, kindly mother, O great lady, kindly mother, amid the many stars of heaven, thou art mistress. I, Shamash Shum Ukin, the king, servant of his entity. Vicegerent of his entity Marduk, and the female entity Sar Panatum, of the evils of the eclipse of the moon fixed for the 15th day of Shabbat, of the evils of the signs and omens, evil baneful, which have occurred in my palace and my land. I'm afraid, and I fear, and I tremble. Let not these evils draw near to me, are my house. Let the Ubuntu plant from me, accept the Ubuntu plant from me, and receive my prayer. There is a long tablet which gives more details of these 7 demons which the fire entity is supposed to relate to his friend Marduk. These 7 were born in the mountain of sunset, and they were reared in the mountain of dawn, and they dwell within the caverns of the earth, and amid the desolate places of the earth they live, unknown in heaven and earth. They are arrayed with terror. Among the wise entities there is no knowledge of them. They have no name in heaven or earth. Those 7 gallop over the mountains of sunset, and on the mountain of dawn they cry. Through the caverns of the earth they creep, and amid the desolate places of the earth they lie. Nowhere are they known in heaven nor earth are they discovered. In the Syriac sayings of the Holy Fathers, certain monks hear the voices of devils in the air as they are praying with the sounds of armor, horses, and many horsemen. The jinn and kindred spirits, well, all the male and female spirits that weren't incarnate in physical bodies, or jinn, of the Arabs have all the characteristics of the various demons of Assyrian times. They are corporeal beings, much like the beast, more like the beast than men. 4. They are ordinarily represented as hairy or have some animal shape, such as that of an ostrich or a snake. Well, they're corporeal in a metaphysical sense. They're of a different nature. They're made of something different. The clay beings, light beings, and the fire beings are all made of something, all different layers of creation. And what Snake says is that ostrich or a snake. If a jinni is killed, a solid carcass remains, but they have certain mysterious powers of appearing or temporally assuming human form, and when they are offended, they can avenge themselves by sending disease or madness. They have, for the most part, no friendly or stated relations with men, but are outside the pale of man's society, and frequently savage and deserted places far from the wonted tread of men. It appears from several poetic passages of the Old Testament that the northern Semites believed in demons of a precisely similar kind, hairy beings. Seirim, nocturnal monsters, Lilith, which haunted wastes and desolate places, and the fellowship with jackals and ostriches. They can eat, drink, and propagate their species, and are even subject to death, so that they correspond to the Hebrew Shadim in certain respects. Now, let's remember that, for example, Islam doesn't teaches that the jinn have respite. So all these people talking about you kill the spirits, and they have physical bodies that you're going to see. The light beings and the fire beings aren't empirical in that sense. There are people that can experience it, people who have, but it's not the same because they're not of this world. And the Sayar in Hadramaut in the time of drought can change to werewolves. Something doesn't compare to certain grounds. Oh, yeah. the spirits don't compare to men in all respects. There's a passage in Isaiah that says these beings like fire that are evil. Well, not all of them. Compare the Islamic story of Bilqis, Queen of Sheba, who married Solomon. She had hair on her ankles and was thus shown to be a Jinniya by descent. Now, Islam doesn't teach that. Maimonides, in his Guide to the Perplexed, says some sects among the Sabians worship demons and imagine that they assume the forms of goats, and others call them therefore goats.